The unexpected encounter. The small human outpost on the distant alien planet was quiet. Too quiet. Commander Ryan Carter had spent the last 6 months alone here, conducting research and waiting for the next supply ship. His days were predictable. Work, eat, sleep. But today was different. After a long day of analyzing alien plant samples, Ryan decided to take a hot shower. The water supply was limited, but today, he didn't care. The warm water felt like heaven, washing away the exhaustion. He closed his eyes, letting the steam rise around him. Then he heard it, a faint shuffling noise. His eyes snapped open. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer, just silence. Maybe it was the wind. The planet had strange weather patterns, and the metal walls of the outpost sometimes creaked. Shaking his head, Ryan stepped out of the shower. He reached for his towel. And then the door slid open. 2 figures stood there, staring at him. Ryan froze. The intruders were not human. They were tall, slim, and had smooth, silver-blue skin. Their eyes were large and glowing faintly in the dim light. Their faces were almost identical. Twins. For a moment, nobody moved. Ryan, completely naked, felt his face heat up. He grabbed the nearest thing, his towel, a blanket, anything. The aliens didn't move. They just stared. "What the hell?" Ryan shouted, wrapping himself in a towel. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The twins looked at each other, then back at him. One of them whispered something in a strange, melodic language. The other's eyes widened in shock. Ryan felt a chill. "What?" he demanded. "What are you saying?" One of the aliens, the one on the left, took a slow step forward. Their skin shimmered slightly, as if reflecting some unseen light. Their lips parted, and they spoke, this time in heavily accented English. "You are real." Ryan blinked. "What? Of course, I'm real. What are you doing here?" The other twin spoke, voice softer but urgent. "You are the pure one." Ryan took a step back. "The what?" The first twin's hands twitched as if resisting the urge to reach out. We have searched for you." A strange energy filled the air. Ryan didn't like it. He had no idea what was happening, but his gut told him that this was important and dangerous. "You need to explain. Right now." His voice was firm, though his heart pounded. The twins exchanged another glance. Then, before they could answer, a loud alarm blared through the outpost. Ryan jumped. The twins' expressions turned to panic. A robotic voice echoed over the speakers. "Unidentified life forms detected. Security lockdown initiated." Ryan turned back to the twins. They looked scared now, their glowing eyes darting to the door. "What's happening?" he asked. The left twin grabbed his wrist. Their touch was warm, almost electric. "They are coming." Ryan's blood ran cold. "Who?" The twin's voice was barely a whisper. "The hunters." Before Ryan could react, the lights flickered, and the entire outpost shook. A loud bang echoed from outside. Something, or someone, was trying to get in. The twins turned to him, their expressions desperate. "You must come with us," the right twin said. Ryan clenched his jaw. He didn't trust them. But staying here wasn't an option. Outside, the banging grew louder. With no choice left, Ryan made his decision. "Fine," he said, "but you better start talking." The twins nodded, and together, they ran. The twins' secret. Ryan's heart pounded as he ran through the narrow corridors of the outpost, the cold metal floor chilling his bare feet. The 2 alien twins moved ahead of him with an eerie grace, their glowing eyes scanning the path as they led him deeper into the station. Behind them, the pounding on the outer doors grew more violent. The walls trembled with each impact. Whoever, or whatever, was outside was trying to get in. Ryan tightened his grip on the towel wrapped around his waist. He couldn't believe how quickly things had spiraled out of control. 5 minutes ago, he was enjoying a peaceful shower. Now he was running for his life with two strange aliens who called him the Pure One. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded, breathless. The left twin glanced back at him, her expression tense but focused. "We will explain. But first, we must leave this place." "Leave?" Ryan shot her a bewildered look. "In case you haven't noticed, I don't exactly have a ship parked outside." The right twin spoke this time, her voice softer but urgent. "We do." Ryan hesitated. Trusting two strange aliens wasn't exactly high on his list of smart ideas, but staying here was even worse. With a final glance at the shaking doors behind him, he muttered, "Fine. Lead the way." The twins nodded in unison and guided him through a hidden maintenance hatch. It was barely big enough for Ryan to squeeze through, and the cold metal scraped against his skin as he crawled behind them. As they moved deeper, the echoes of destruction grew fainter, replaced by the hum of power generators and the distant whirring of machines. Ryan didn't know where they were going, but one thing was clear: he wasn't alone on this planet anymore. They emerged into a dimly lit underground chamber. Ryan stumbled to his feet, shivering from the cold air. He wrapped his arms around himself, glaring at the twins. "All right," he snapped. "Now you're going to tell me what's happening. Who are you? Why did you break into my station? And what the hell is a Pure One?" The twins exchanged a look. It was as if they were having a silent conversation. Then the left twin stepped forward. "My name is Silent," she said. She gestured to her sister. "This is my twin, Vena." Ryan crossed his arms. "Okay, that doesn't answer my other questions." Vena took a step forward, her glowing eyes scanning him carefully. "Your kind is rare. We have searched for many cycles." Ryan frowned. "Searched for what?" Silent hesitated, then pointed at his exposed skin. "That." Ryan looked down at himself, confused. He was just a normal human. Nothing special. 2 arms, 2 legs, messy brown hair, and a scar on his left rib from a childhood accident. "What about it?" he asked, annoyed. Vena inhaled sharply. "You do not understand. Your body carries something that can change everything. It is the answer." Ryan stared at them, his patience wearing thin. "That doesn't mean anything to me." "Try again." "In English." Silent sighed, her gaze flickering toward Vena. Finally, she spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "Our species is dying." Ryan blinked. Silent continued. "For centuries, our kind has suffered from a sickness. It is not a disease in the way you understand. It is a fading. We are growing weaker. Each generation is more fragile than the last. We live shorter lives, and soon we will not live at all." Vena stepped closer, her voice filled with quiet urgency. "But then we found something. A legend. A prophecy. It spoke of a being from the stars, one whose body carried the missing key to our survival." Ryan narrowed his eyes. "And you think that's me?" Silent nodded. "We do not think. We know." Ryan let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Right, so let me get this straight. You're saying that just because I'm human, I'm some kind of miracle cure for your species?" Vena hesitated. "Not all humans. Only certain ones. Only those with the rarest genetic code." Ryan rubbed his face, trying to process. "And you figured that out by what? Walking in on me naked?" The twins exchanged another glance. Silent's lips twitched slightly. "We did not plan for that part." Ryan groaned. "Great. So I'm your mystical space savior. Fantastic." He exhaled. "And what happens now?" "You take me to your homeworld and run some experiments on me." Vena's eyes darkened. "No." Silent's voice was grim. "Because if we could find you, so could they." Ryan's body tensed. "Who?" Silent's answer sent a chill down his spine. "The hunters." A deep vibration rumbled through the chamber. Ryan felt it in his bones. The ground beneath them trembled slightly. The twins' eyes widened. They are here. Ryan barely had time to react before a deafening boom shook the entire structure. The walls cracked. A metal beam crashed down behind them. Silent grabbed his arm. We must go. Now. Ryan's instincts screamed at him to move. He didn't know what was coming, but whatever it was, he did not want to be here when it arrived. The twins led him toward the far end of the chamber, where a sleek, silver ship rested on a raised platform. It was smaller than he expected, just large enough for a crew of 3 or 4. Vena pressed a panel on the side, and the ship's entrance hissed open. Ryan hesitated. Once he stepped inside, there was no turning back. Another explosion rocked the chamber. Dust filled the air. Ryan turned to see a dark figure emerging through the smoke. It was not human. His breath caught. His heart pounded. The figure stepped closer, its armor glinting under the dim light. Its eyes, dark and soulless, locked onto Ryan. And then, it charged. Ryan didn't think. He jumped into the ship. The hatch slammed shut behind him. The last thing he heard before they took off, before they left the planet behind, was the sound of something screaming. A deadly secret. The ship shook violently as it shot through the alien atmosphere. Ryan gripped the sides of his seat, his knuckles turning white. The sudden acceleration pressed him back, and his stomach twisted as the planet below shrank rapidly beneath them. Outside, through the small viewing window, Ryan saw the fiery trails of pursuers. Dark, angular ships sliced through the sky behind them, their glowing red engines pulsating like demonic eyes. They're still coming, Ryan shouted, glancing at the twins. Silent, her face tense with focus, slammed her hands onto the control panel. They will not stop. They will chase us across the stars if they must. Vena, sitting beside her, quickly pressed a sequence of buttons, activating warp drive. Ryan barely had time to register those words before the entire ship lurched. A brilliant flash of blue light enveloped them, and the distant stars stretched into thin streaks. The ship trembled for a moment. Then, silence. The pursuit was gone. They were in hyperspace now, safe, for the moment. Ryan exhaled slowly, releasing the breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He pushed himself upright and turned to face the twins, who were still tense. Okay. He took a deep breath. Now, someone better explain what the hell is going on. Silent and Vena exchanged glances, then Silent spoke. The hunters are an elite force. They serve our rulers. They are not just soldiers. They are exterminators. Ryan frowned. Exterminators. Vena's voice was quiet. They hunt people like us. Ryan's gut twisted. And by us, you mean? Silent turned toward him, her glowing eyes meeting his. Those who know the truth. Ryan clenched his jaw. You mean, about me? About this whole, pure one thing? Silent nodded. Ryan rubbed his face. So let me get this straight. You guys found out that humans, specifically, certain humans, carry something important in their DNA, something your rulers don't want people knowing about. And now, because I exist, these hunters want to kill me. Vena's expression darkened. They do not want to kill you, Ryan. Ryan stiffened. Then what do they want? Silent's voice was barely a whisper. They want to harvest you. A cold chill crept down Ryan's spine. Harvest. Silent nodded. Your body carries something unique, something our species has lost over centuries of evolution. Our rulers believe it can be extracted, copied, but the process, it is not meant to be survived. Ryan's stomach churned. So they want to dissect me. Vena nodded, her eyes full of quiet sadness. Yes. Ryan shot to his feet, pacing the small cockpit. This is insane. This isn't some alien horror movie. I'm just a guy. I'm not some magical cure for an entire species. Silent's gaze was unreadable. You are more than you think, Ryan Carter. Ryan ran a hand through his damp hair, his thoughts spinning. And you too. You risked everything to get me out of there. Why? Vena's lips pressed together. Because we believe in something greater than the empire that rules us. Scilen nodded. We believe that our people deserve a choice. The rulers would rather control the cure than share it. They would rather keep our people sick than let them grow strong. Ryan exhaled sharply. So you're rebels. Scilen tilted her head slightly. We are outcasts. Ryan folded his arms. And what's your plan? What do you want from me? The twins hesitated. Then Scilen spoke. We need your help. Ryan let out a dry laugh. Help? I don't even know what's happening. What could I possibly do? Vena leaned forward. We do not need you to fight. We need you to survive. Ryan's brows furrowed. What? Scilen turned to the ship's main console. Pressing a few buttons, a hologram appeared in the air, a map of the galaxy. She pointed at a small, isolated system on the edge. This is where we must go, she said. Ryan studied the glowing image. What's there? Vena's voice was soft. The last free scientist of our kind. She can tell us what you truly are. Ryan hesitated, then slowly nodded. And after that? Scilen's eyes darkened. Then we decide whether our people have a future or not. The hunter's shadow. Meanwhile, back on the abandoned human outpost, a tall figure stepped through the ruins. Smoke still rose from the damaged facility. The bodies of fallen soldiers littered the floor. A black-clad alien, towering and broad-shouldered, kneeled beside a broken console. His dark metallic armor gleamed under the flickering lights. His eyes, unlike the twins, were cold and empty, like black voids. The hunter's fingers brushed over a blood-stained floor panel. He lifted his hand and examined the crimson stain, the human's blood. A deep mechanical growl rumbled in his chest. Behind him, a hologram flickered to life. A figure in regal robes appeared, its face shrouded in shadow. Report. The voice was sharp, commanding. The hunter's lips curled slightly. The pure one has escaped. The figure stiffened. With the twins? Yes. A pause. Then the shadowed figure's voice turned icy. They will go to the scientist. The hunter inclined his head. I have already set course. The figure leaned forward. This human must not reach her. You understand what is at stake. The hunter's empty black eyes glowed faintly. I will bring him back. His voice was deep, slow, and unwavering. The hologram flickered, dead or alive. The hunter's lips twisted into a cruel smile. Alive. For now. The transmission cut. The hunter stood, his long black cloak sweeping the floor as he turned to face the darkness. The hunt had begun. The great escape. Ryan sat in the dimly lit ship, his mind racing as he tried to process everything. His life had turned into some insane sci-fi nightmare. Less than an hour ago, he was taking a peaceful shower on a remote research station. Now he was on the run with two alien twins, being hunted by a terrifying assassin because his DNA held the key to an entire species' survival. He exhaled sharply. This is insane. Vena, seated beside him, glanced over. Are you well? Ryan let out a dry laugh. Oh yeah, I'm great. Just found out that a bunch of aliens want to harvest me. No big deal. Scilen, at the controls, kept her gaze forward. We will not let that happen. Ryan scoffed. Oh yeah. And what's stopping them? We barely got away back there. What's to stop these hunters from tracking us down again? Scilen tapped a glowing display on the dashboard, bringing up a swirling blue vortex on the screen. This, she said. Ryan squinted at the image. And that is? Vena answered, her voice tinged with urgency. A rift. A tear in space. It leads to a region where sensors do not work. Ryan's eyebrows shot up. You're telling me we're about to fly into unmapped space? Scilen nodded. It is the only way to lose them. Ryan leaned back in his seat, rubbing his temples. Yeah, Because going into a cosmic hell zone sounds way safer than running from murder aliens. Silent ignored his sarcasm and pushed the ship forward. The hull vibrated as they approached the shimmering vortex. It looked like a swirling storm of blue and black, a chaotic whirlpool twisting endlessly in space. Ryan swallowed hard. "Are you sure this thing isn't going to kill us?" Vena looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Only mostly sure." Before Ryan could protest, the ship lurched forward and dove into the rift. Into the rift. The moment they entered, the ship shook violently. The lights flickered. Ryan felt his stomach flip as the gravitational pull twisted in ways his body wasn't meant to handle. "Not a fan of this," he shouted over the alarms. Silent gritted her teeth, gripping the controls tightly. "Hold on." The ship spun through the vortex, buffeted by unseen forces. Colors blurred together outside the viewport. Blues, purples, streaks of silver. Ryan had never seen anything like it. It was both beautiful and horrifying. Then, suddenly, silence. The shaking stopped. The alarms went quiet. The ship floated in complete darkness. Ryan blinked. "Are we dead?" Vena checked the readings. "No, we have entered the rift's core." Ryan exhaled, trying to calm his nerves. "Great. Now what?" Silent turned to him. "Now, we wait." Ryan frowned. "Wait for what?" Vena's voice was barely above a whisper. "To see if they followed us." Ryan stiffened. His heart pounded in his chest. He turned toward the viewport, watching, waiting. For several long minutes, there was nothing. Only the empty void. Then, a shadow moved. Ryan's breath hitched. "Did you see that?" Silent's fingers twitched over the controls. "Yes." Another shadow flickered in the distance. A massive, dark shape, just barely visible through the rift's shifting energy. Ryan's pulse spiked. "Tell me that's just a weird space cloud." Vena's face had gone pale. "It is not." Ryan swallowed. "What is it?" Silent's voice was grim. "Something that should not exist." Ryan's hands clenched into fists. "You mean something worse than the hunters?" Vena nodded slowly. Ryan muttered under his breath. "Great, just great." Suddenly, the ship rocked violently. A deep, guttural sound rumbled through the hull. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't a normal explosion. It was alive. Ryan's skin crawled. What the hell was that? Silent's voice was urgent. "Something is trying to pull us deeper into the rift." Ryan did not like the sound of that. "Well, I vote we leave." Vena was already on it, fingers flying over the controls, attempting to break free. The ship's thrusters roared to life. The engines burned bright against the swirling darkness as the vessel pushed forward. But whatever was out there, it wasn't letting go. The chase. The ship jerked backward as if caught in an invisible web. The lights flickered again. Ryan grabbed onto his seat. "We're not moving." Silent cursed under her breath. "Something has locked onto us. It is using a gravitational snare." Ryan's stomach dropped. "A what?" Vena's hands tightened on the controls. "A field that bends space. If we do not escape, we will be pulled into its core." Ryan didn't need to hear any more. "So how do we break free?" Silent's eyes darkened. "By doing something very, very dangerous." Ryan gave her a flat look. "Awesome. Because everything else has been so safe so far." Before he could argue further, the ship pitched violently to the right. The external sensors screamed in warning. The dark shape in the void moved closer. Ryan's breath hitched. He could see it now. A massive, shifting form with no clear shape. It pulsed, shifting between solid and liquid, like a living mass of shadow and energy. Then, it opened its eyes. Ryan felt his chest tighten. He couldn't breathe. The eyes were massive, burning like suns, but they weren't just looking at the ship. They were looking at him. Ryan gasped, gripping his head as whispers flooded his mind. "Strange, alien voices speaking in a language he couldn't understand. His vision blurred. His body burned. Vena's voice cut through the haze. "Ryan, stay with us." Silent's fingers flew across the controls, engaging warp pulse. Ryan barely registered what that meant before a shockwave erupted from the ship's core. A blinding flash of blue light consumed everything. And then, they were free. Escape, for now. Ryan gasped, his body trembling. He blinked rapidly, his vision clearing. The rift was behind them. They had escaped. But something felt wrong. Vena's worried gaze locked onto him. "Ryan, your eyes." Ryan frowned. "What about them?" Silent's voice was quiet. "They are glowing." Ryan's stomach twisted. His reflection in the ship's glass screen confirmed it. His once human eyes now pulsed with a faint, eerie blue light. He wasn't just the pure one anymore. Something had changed inside him. Meanwhile, the hunter watched from his ship. The rift closed behind his prey, but he did not move to follow. Instead, he tilted his head, watching his scanner. Ryan Carter's genetic readings had shifted. The hunter smiled, a cold, soulless thing. "The transformation has begun," he murmured. Then he turned to his crew. "Prepare the weapons." His voice was a death sentence. "We take him alive." The betrayal. Ryan stared at his reflection in the ship's console, his breath shallow. His once normal, human eyes now glowed blue, pulsing faintly like twin nebulae trapped within his skull. His fingers trembled as he reached up, almost afraid to touch his own face. "This isn't possible," he muttered. Yet here he was, changed. Silent and Vena watched him cautiously. Neither spoke. Finally, Ryan tore his gaze away from the reflection and turned to them. "What the hell happened to me?" Silent stepped closer, studying him with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "We do not know." Vena's fingers tightened around the armrest of her seat. "Something in the rift affected you." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Affected me how?" Silent hesitated before answering. "Your DNA was already unique. The rift, it may have activated something that was dormant inside you." Ryan let out a dry laugh. "Great, because I definitely needed more weird stuff happening to my body." He rubbed his temple, frustration building. "What does this mean? Am I still human?" Vena's gaze softened. "You are still you, Ryan." Ryan sighed, shaking his head. He wasn't so sure. Silent turned back to the controls. "We must keep moving. The hunters will not give up." Ryan frowned. "Yeah, about that. What's our plan now?" Silent brought up the holographic map again. A distant planet flickered into view. "This is our destination." Ryan squinted at the glowing sphere. "What's there?" Vena's voice was steady. "Dr. Enara Velshi." Ryan glanced at them. "Who?" Silent exhaled. She was once the Empire's greatest scientist, but when she discovered the truth about the Pure Ones, she refused to let the rulers control it. They labeled her a traitor, and she was forced to flee. Ryan frowned. "And now you think she can help me?" Vena nodded. "She may be the only one who can." Ryan sighed, rubbing his face. "All right, let's get this over with." Silent punched in the coordinates, and the ship jumped to hyperspace. For now, they were safe. But that safety wouldn't last. The betrayal. After several hours, they reached a desert planet on the far edge of the system. The landscape was harsh, towering rock formations, endless sand dunes, and violet skies filled with swirling dust storms. Ryan followed the twins as they guided him through the narrow canyons toward an underground bunker hidden beneath a ruined temple. The entrance opened with a hiss, revealing a dimly lit chamber lined with ancient technology. A figure stood waiting for them. Dr. Enara Velshi was not what Ryan expected. She was older, her silver hair tied in a loose braid, and her deep green eyes held the weight of knowledge and regret. Her dark robes were tattered, but she stood with an air of quiet authority. She studied Ryan for a long moment before speaking. "So," she murmured, The last pure one finally arrives. Ryan exhaled sharply. Yeah, that's me. Apparently. Dr. Velshi stepped forward, inspecting him carefully. When she met his gaze, her breath caught. You've been to the rift. Ryan tensed. How do you? She cut him off, shaking her head. Your eyes. They bear the mark. Ryan swallowed. What does that mean? Dr. Velshi turned to the twins, her expression darkening. Did you tell him the full truth? Silence stiffened. He knows enough. Velshi's gaze hardened. That is not for you to decide. Ryan felt something shift in the air. A growing tension. Velshi turned back to him. The pure ones were not just a legend. They were something more. Something dangerous. Ryan's stomach twisted. What do you mean dangerous? Velshi exhaled slowly. The rulers feared the pure ones not because they carried the cure, but because they carried something that could change everything. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Change what? Velshi's next words froze his blood. The balance of power. Ryan's pulse quickened. Velshi continued. The pure ones were never meant to be controlled. They were never meant to be used as a cure. They were meant to be something else entirely. A new stage of evolution. Ryan's breath hitched. You mean? They weren't just human. Velshi shook her head. They were something beyond human. Silence filled the chamber. Ryan felt a cold weight settle in his chest. And you think I'm one of them? Velshi's eyes gleamed. I do not think. I know. Ryan swallowed hard. And the Empire. They want to stop this. Velshi nodded. They do not want you to awaken your full potential. Because if you do. She stepped closer, her gaze locking onto his. You will be unstoppable. Ryan felt his heart pounding. This was too much, too fast. And then, bang. The bunker shook violently. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. The lights flickered. An alarm blared. Ryan's gut twisted. What the hell was that? Silent paled. They found us. Ryan turned to the entrance just as it exploded inward. A towering figure stepped through the smoke, his black armor gleaming. The hunter. Ryan's blood ran cold. Silent grabbed his arm. Run. Ryan turned to flee, but before he cooled, a sharp pain exploded in his back. He gasped, stumbling forward. His vision blurred. He turned his head. Vena stood behind him, holding a shock blade. Betrayal burned in her glowing eyes. Ryan's breath hitched. You? His knees buckled. Darkness swallowed him. And then, everything went black. The experiment. Darkness. A weightless void surrounded Ryan, pressing down on him like a thick fog. His body felt distant, disconnected. He struggled to move, but nothing responded. Then, voices. Faint, distant. He is waking. A pulse of cold shot through Ryan's spine. His eyelids fluttered open, and a blinding white light seared into his vision. He groaned, squinting as the brightness burned into his retinas. Shapes moved around him. Silhouettes. Shadows. He tried to lift his arms, but something held him down. Panic surged through him as reality crashed in. He was restrained. Thick, metallic cuffs locked his wrists and ankles against an upright slab of cold steel. Tubes and wires ran from his body, connected to beeping monitors. Strange symbols flickered on holographic screens all around him. Ryan's breath quickened. Where am I? Memories struck like lightning. The bunker. Vena. The betrayal. His chest tightened. She had stabbed him. She had looked him in the eyes as she did it. Why? A sharp hiss echoed through the sterile room, and a door slid open. Ryan forced himself to focus. Two figures stepped in. One was draped in heavy black robes, their face hidden beneath a metallic mask. The other, the hunter. Ryan's heart pounded. The hunter moved like a predator, slow and deliberate. His dark armor gleamed under the medical lights, and his soulless black eyes studied Ryan like an animal caught in a cage. You survived the wound, The masked figure said, voice smooth but emotionless. Impressive. Ryan swallowed hard. His throat was dry. His muscles ached, but his mind was sharp. Who the hell are you? He rasped. The masked figure stepped forward, placing a cold hand on Ryan's bare chest. The moment their fingers touched him, pain erupted through his body. Ryan gasped, his muscles spasming as raw energy burned through his veins. He clenched his jaw, refusing to scream. The figure removed their hand and tilted their head slightly. Yes, the transformation has begun. Ryan sucked in a shaky breath. What? Transformation? The masked figure waved a hand, and a nearby screen flickered to life. Ryan's own body appeared on the display, his DNA strands mutating, glowing faintly with the same eerie blue light that had taken over his eyes. You are evolving, the figure murmured, becoming something greater. Ryan's pulse spiked. I don't want to become anything. Let me go. The hunter stepped closer. His voice was a deep, low growl. You have no choice. Ryan gritted his teeth. Yeah, I say otherwise. He jerked against the restraints, pulling with everything he had. The steel groaned, but it didn't budge. The masked figure chuckled. Your strength is growing, but you are not ready yet. Ryan exhaled sharply, glaring at them. Then what the hell do you want from me? The figure stepped closer, whispering, we want to unlock your full potential. Ryan's breath hitched. And to do that, a surgical drone hovered into view, its arms unfolding with sharp, gleaming blades and syringes. We must take you apart, piece by piece. The machine whirred as it moved closer. Ryan's heart pounded. His body screamed at him to move, to fight, to escape. The drone's blade glowed blue as it descended toward his chest. Ryan's body reacted on instinct. A pulse of energy exploded from his core, and the entire room shook. The hunter staggered back. Screens shattered. Alarms blared. Ryan's restraints snapped apart. The moment his feet hit the floor, he moved. The escape. Pain shot through his body, but he ignored it. His muscles felt different, stronger, faster. The hunter lunged for him, but Ryan was already dodging, his body reacting before his mind could think. With a speed he never had before, he twisted, grabbing a loose metal bar from the wreckage of his restraints. Cracky! The bar slammed into the hunter's helmet, sending him stumbling back. Ryan didn't wait. He sprinted toward the door. The masked figure raised a hand, and the entire room shuddered as a telekinetic force tried to crush him. Ryan gritted his teeth, pushing back. Something inside him snapped open, a surge of raw power bursting from his very cells. The force holding him broke. The masked figure gasped, stumbling as Ryan's energy overpowered them. Ryan didn't stop. He burst through the door, sprinting down the metallic corridors, alarms wailing all around him. Soldiers rushed in from both sides, weapons raised. Ryan moved before they could fire. He twisted, dodged, his body moving with an inhuman fluidity. With a flick of his wrist, a pulse of energy blasted from his fingertips, sending the soldiers flying into the walls. Ryan stopped, staring at his hands. What the hell am I? No time for that. He kept running. Somewhere ahead, a docking bay. Ryan sprinted toward it. Then, a figure stepped into his path. Ryan's heart stopped. Vena, her glowing eyes locked onto him, filled with something Ryan couldn't place. Regret? Guilt? Ryan clenched his fists. You betrayed me. Vena swallowed hard. I didn't have a choice. Ryan stepped forward. There's always a choice. Vena exhaled shakily. You don't understand. The hunter, he has my sister. If I didn't hand you over, they would have killed her. Ryan froze. Silent. He should hate Vena for what she did, for stabbing him, for giving him up to the enemy. But now he understood. Ryan exhaled slowly. Where is she? Vena hesitated. Then, she's in the lower cells. They planned to execute her within the hour. Ryan's jaw tightened. He could leave. He could escape. Or he could go back and save Silent. Ryan took a deep breath. Then he made his choice. Meanwhile, the hunter stood in the wreckage of the lab, blood dripping from his brow. He watched the security footage as Ryan ripped through their forces, wielding his newfound power. A dark smile spread across the hunter's lips. "Good," he murmured. "He is finally awakening." His black eyes gleamed as he turned to his soldiers. "Prepare the ship." His voice was ice. "This hunt is far from over." The final stand. Ryan's heart pounded as he stood in the dimly lit corridor, staring at Vena. Her silver-blue skin was slick with sweat, her glowing eyes pleading. The weight of her betrayal still hung heavy in the air, but her desperation was undeniable. She had turned him over to the enemy, but she had done it to save her sister. And now Silent was about to be executed. Ryan exhaled sharply. He could escape. He could leave this nightmare behind and disappear into the stars. Or he could turn back and do what no sane person would do, fight his way into the heart of an enemy stronghold to rescue the very people who had dragged him into this mess. He already knew his answer. "I'm not leaving her," Ryan said, his voice steel. Vena's lips parted slightly, as if she hadn't expected him to say that. "You'd risk everything for her." Ryan met her gaze. "She risked everything for me." For a second, Vena hesitated. Then she nodded, determination hardening her features. "Then we do this together." She turned, leading him toward a maintenance shaft hidden behind a panel. "The lower cells are heavily guarded," she whispered as she punched in an override code. "But I know a way in." Ryan rolled his shoulders. Power still hummed beneath his skin, coiling like a storm. Whatever had changed in him, he could feel it growing. "Then let's move," he said. The panel slid open, revealing a narrow, dimly lit tunnel. And just like that, they disappeared into the belly of the beast. The rescue. The lower prison level was deep beneath the station's surface, reinforced with thick, black metal walls that pulsed faintly with energy. Ryan could feel the hum of power in the air, anti-telekinetic dampeners. They knew what he was now. They were preparing for him. Ryan and Vena moved silently through the dark corridors, slipping past security checkpoints. Vena's knowledge of the base was impeccable. She guided him around every blind spot, avoided every surveillance drone. Finally, they'd reached the cell block entrance. Ryan pressed against the wall, peering around the corner. Two heavily armored soldiers stood at the door, their rifles humming with energy. Ryan clenched his fists. His new powers were still raw, untested, but he felt them inside him, waiting to be unleashed. He turned to Vena. "Stay here." Before she could argue, Ryan stepped out into the open. The guards reacted immediately, snapping their weapons up. "Stop. Hands where we can." Ryan moved. Faster than thought. Faster than light. One moment he was standing in front of them. The next, he was between them, his hands outstretched. A pulse of blue energy erupted from his palms. The guards were blasted back into the walls with bone-cracking force. Their weapons clattered to the floor. Ryan exhaled, staring at his hands. His fingertips were glowing. Not with fire, not with electricity, but with something deeper. Like he was pulling energy straight from the universe itself. Vena stepped up behind him, eyes wide. That was. Ryan ignored her, stepping over the fallen guards and slamming his palm onto the control panel. The door hissed open. Inside, Silent was strapped to an execution table, her wrists bound in heavy metal cuffs, her breathing shallow. Ryan's chest tightened. He moved to her side in an instant, his hands working to undo the restraints. Her eyes fluttered open. "Ryan," she whispered weakly. A surge of relief flooded through him. "Yeah, it's me. You good to move?" She winced as he helped her sit up. "I will be." The moment her cuffs snapped open, the energy dampeners shattered. Ryan felt it instantly, his power surging back in full force. Silent gasped, gripping his wrist. You're different. Ryan met her gaze. Yeah, I noticed. Then, the alarms started blaring. Ryan cursed. They know we're here, Vena said. Ryan helped Silent to her feet. Then let's go. But before they could take a single step, the lights cut out, and a deep mechanical voice filled the chamber. Going somewhere, Pure One. Ryan's blood froze. The hunter stepped through the doorway. His dark armor gleamed under the emergency lighting, his massive frame blocking their escape. His black eyes locked onto Ryan. You've grown, he said, his voice like grinding metal. Ryan clenched his fists. Not enough for you to be worried. The hunter tilted his head. Oh, I disagree. Then, he moved, faster than Ryan had expected. The hunter's fist slammed into Ryan's chest like a sledgehammer. Ryan flew backward, crashing into the cell wall with a loud grunt. Silent cried out, stepping forward, but the hunter grabbed her by the throat. No, Vena shouted, but a flick of the hunter's wrist sent her flying into the opposite wall. Ryan pushed himself up, coughing. The impact should have broken ribs, but instead, his body absorbed the shock. More proof. He wasn't human anymore. He locked eyes with the hunter. Let her go. The hunter's lips curled into a smirk. Make me. Ryan's vision turned white-hot. Power flooded through his veins. He launched himself forward. The hunter swung, but this time, Ryan saw it coming. His reflexes were faster. He ducked, spinning, and drove his fist into the hunter's chest. A shockwave exploded outward, sending the massive warrior skidding back. Ryan didn't hesitate. He pressed forward, landing blow after blow. His movements were precise, fluid, inhumanly fast. For the first time, the hunter stumbled. Ryan grabbed Silent's arm and pulled her free. Vena, move. Vena scrambled to her feet, and together they raced toward the exit. The hunter roared. Ryan turned, raising his hands, and unleashed a blast of pure energy. The hunter vanished in the explosion, but Ryan knew it wasn't over. He turned back to the twins. We need to go. Now. They ran, through the halls, past the broken guards, toward the docking bay. A ship waited, their escape. Ryan pushed Silent and Vena inside. He turned back, just in time to see the hunter standing in the smoke, watching him. Blood trickled from his mouth, but he was grinning. This is only the beginning, the hunter rasped. Ryan locked eyes with him. No, he said. This is the end. The ship's thrusters roared to life. They shot into the sky, free. For now. Epilogue. The next step. Hours later, as the ship drifted through the quiet of space, Ryan stood at the viewport, staring at the stars. Silent stepped up beside him. You made your choice, she said softly. Ryan exhaled. Yeah. Vena joined them. What now? Ryan clenched his fists. The Empire still existed. The hunters would keep coming. But he wasn't running anymore. Now. He turned, his glowing eyes burning. Now, we fight.